My soul knew you before I even knew your name. A soft ache echoing in the hollow of my ribs where your laughter was meant to rest. I lived in a palace of protocol, behind curtains of formality and expectation, but somehow, even in those carefully constructed silences, the world hummed your name. You were a whisper before you became a voice. A flicker in the dark hallways of my thoughts long before your hand found mine. And when it did, when the light of you fell against my skin, it was as if time exhaled for the first time. You never bowed to me, not with your spine but with your eyes, unflinching, reverent, real. That was when I knew you saw me not as a title, not as a symbol stitched in gold thread, but as a girl made of storms and softness, as a heart waiting to be chosen. The world may never understand the sanctuary I find in your quiet glances, the throne I build in the bend of your shoulder, where I rest my dreams. But this love, this sacred defiance of ours, is the anthem I repeat under my breath when duty feels too heavy to bear. They taught me to speak carefully, to move like porcelain painted with power, but with you I dissolve into poetry too raw for the halls of power. You make a language of my silences, reading into the tilt of my head, the shiver in my fingertips. Each moment you hold me, I learn a truth unspoken in royal decree, that love cannot be commanded, only surrendered to. I have prepared all my life to be worthy of a nation, but with you I only want to be worthy of a kiss, a morning, a memory carved into the back of your eyes. You tell me I am both crown and comet, soft and sovereign. And I wonder how a man can see both fire and grace in the same girl. The world only wants to polish and display. I write letters to you in my head during state dinners, hiding confessions between courses, imagining your fingers brushing away my royal mask. This love is rebellion, and yet it feels more right than any law I've studied. With you, I am not heir or icon. I am simply a girl falling infinitely into someone who calls her back to herself. When I look at you, I don't see the impossibility. We were born into different pages, you and I. But instead I see the miracle of how stories can bend to meet in the middle. I remember the first time your hand brushed mine, almost accidental, but in that fleeting touch, I heard the pulse of every chapter we hadn't written yet. I felt the axis of my life shift. I am not supposed to chase dreams, I'm supposed to uphold them. But what if loving you is the dream that carries the weight of its own kingdom? What if, in this hidden orbit of ours, we are shaping something just as noble? There are nights I sneak to the windows of my mind and imagine you waiting there, beneath moonlight not meant for cameras. And I would run, yes, run, even with these shoes, made for poise, not for escape, just to fall into the gravity of your embrace. Because what I feel for you cannot be dissected by logic or legacy. It lives in the blood, in the breath, in that sacred space where your name fits perfectly against my lips, like it's always belonged there. You make me want to write a new constitution, one where love is the only law, and your laughter the only anthem. You see through the titles and ceremonies, straight into the girl who still sketches dreams in the corners of her notebook. I used to wonder if anyone could ever love me without the castle, without the legend, without the light that never really warms. And then you came, all eyes and hands and honesty, stripping away the gold until all that was left was me, still whole, still wanted. I carry you like a secret scripture, written between the heartbeats of my days, where your name becomes a prayer that calms every storm. You've taught me that intimacy is not in the grand declarations, but in the quiet knowing, in how you remember my fears, even when I laugh, in how you listen for the silence behind my yes. Loving you isn't something I chose. It's something that chose me, like sunlight, choosing the sea, inevitable and eternal. I may wear a crown, but you are the only one who rules my pulse. They tell me I must marry someone who strengthens the crown. But what if you are the one who strengthens me? In you I find the freedom no title can grant. You remind me that I am not just a symbol. I am sensation, intention, vulnerability. We exist in a hidden world, between breaths, between footsteps echoing down palace halls, between expectations folded like napkins at official dinner. Yet in those spaces, you become the only truth I recognize. I see forever not as a duty, but as a dance, one we began the first time we spoke without words. You ask for nothing, yet I would give you everything, even the parts of me I've been told to hide. I ache for you in languages I haven't learned, in futures I'm not supposed to dream. And though the world may never write our story in history books, I will etch it in the silence of my pulse, in the warmth behind my royal smile, in every brave step I take toward the possibility of us. With you, even silence becomes sacred, a hymn echoing between us, soft and infinite. I don't need to be adorned in silk or praised in crowds. When your eyes find mine, across a room and strip away every illusion. There are days when the crown feels like a weight instead of an honor, when decisions shape not only my life, but the breath of a country. And in those moments I return to the thought of you, not as an escape, but as the purest truth I have ever touched. You ground me without binding me. You remind me that strength is not just in duty, but in softness, in choosing love again and again, even when it is inconvenient, impossible or unseen. Your name becomes a rhythm in my chest, steady and constant, a promise I cannot speak aloud, but feel in every part of me. I do not need the world's permission to feel what I feel for you. Let them write laws, sign treaties, and draw lines between us. My heart has already crossed them all. There are nights I stay awake not from worry, but from the sheer overwhelming wonder of how you came to be mine in spirit, if not in name. I replay moments in my head, like lullabies. Your smile when I whispered something only you could hear. The way your fingers hovered near mine, when we were both pretending to be ordinary. And for those sacred seconds, we were no history, no lineage, just two people lost in the gravity of each other. If love is a revolution, then I am ready to burn every false expectation for the truth of us. And if one day they tell me I must choose between you and the crown, I won't answer with words. I will look to the place where my heart has always tilted, where your silhouette has become the horizon I move toward. I am not naive. I know the world may not allow us the luxury of a simple end. But even if I cannot have your name beside mine in public vows, I will hold your essence in every breath I take behind closed doors. In another life, maybe you would have met me barefoot in a garden, where no one knew who we were, and you'd pick wildflowers for my hair, instead of offering apologies for the barriers we cannot break. But we were born into a life that expects symmetry, not wildness. Still, I've come to love the way you disturb my perfect order. You don't complete me. You remind me that I was never meant to be completed, only ever known, fully, fiercely, quietly. Your love doesn't consume, it recognizes. You see me when I am too tired to perform, when I want to be cradled, not watched. And in those moments I fall for you all over again, not as a prince, not as a protector, but as a witness to my becoming. That is your gift. You make me want to be more, not for applause, but for intimacy. And if love is our only meeting ground, let it be enough. Let our story live in the spaces no royal archive can capture, in glances, in breath, in the conscious choosing of one another. Sometimes I think love is the only language where we're both fluent. And it doesn't matter that we live in two different worlds. We share one universe. You've seen me cry for things I cannot explain, for burdens I cannot share, and never once did you flinch. Instead, you stayed anchored, listening, offering no solution, just present. I never knew how healing it could be to simply be held, not as a symbol, but as a soul. I've danced in ballrooms, meant to display poise, but I never feel more graceful than when you hold my waist in the kitchen of your tiny flat, moving to music that only we can hear. There, I am not Princess Leonor. I am just the girl who loves the way your heartbeat syncs with mine when we stand too close. Every day without you is a page missing from the novel I was meant to write. And every day with you is a poem that writes itself. If I could bottle the sound of your laugh and wear it like perfume, I would. Because in the scent of joy, I find you, always.